Anti-grazing laws and banning of open grazing is a satanic agenda to destroy our means of livelihood by desperate politicians acting on faulty and self-serving security reports. It is Frederick Bestia in 1801, in his Economic Sufism, who said, when plunder becomes a way of life of a group of men living together in a society, they create for themselves in the course of time a legal system that authorizes it and a moral code that glorifies it. This is a clear case of the current rush to create negative laws against our cultural heritage. Anti-grazing laws and policies are attempts to ban open grazing are nothing but populist and corrupt-driven agenda designed by visionless, inept, and desperate politicians to destroy pastoralist means of livelihood. These dangerous and satanic laws must be nipped in the bud by the National Assembly to safeguard the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as it portends greater danger to the corporate existence of the country. These oppressive laws and hostile policies being enacted by state governors are fundamentally going against the Fulani pastoralist culture, economic interests, and constitutional rights. It is important to note that interstate movement of pastoralists is similar to interstate commerce, which is an exclusive preserve of the legislative powers of the National Assembly under Item 62 of the exclusive legislative list. To this effect, any action taken by any state assembly that is in conflict with the above section of the 1999 Constitution as amended is null and void and of no effect and of no consequences to the pastoralists. These laws do not take into cognizance the sociology, economic of production, climate variation, and other push factors that are inherent in pastoralist movements across ecological zones. It is a common knowledge that Nigerian mode of agricultural practice is still primitive all over the country and are not consistent with global best practices. So why singling out the pastoralists who have been suffering from cumulative years of neglect in terms of development from both federal, state, and local governments? There is a looming danger and security implications of these satanic laws by the ill-informed governors on national security. The laws will destroy livestock production and send into poverty millions of people that depend on livestock value chain. The butchers, the transporters, the livestock dealers, the consumers who are used to affordable source of beef and milk are going to be affected. The laws will undermine relative peace and stability currently enjoyed in local communities and threaten social order. The laws will exacerbate cattle rustling in local communities as criminal gangs and state-sponsored vigilantes like Amotekun and other state-sponsored gangs to be rustling our cattle. The laws will lead to a serious humanitarian crisis as families will be destabilized, market and economic livelihood will be disrupted. The laws will lead to massive cross-border migration that will create further security challenges for the country. The National Assembly and Mr. President to intervene and stop the current attempts by some state governors to criminalize our means of livelihood of cattle rearing through enacting of satanic and obnoxious laws they call anti-grazing laws, which I call antichrist, targeted at Fulani pastoralists. The federal government should create a ministry for livestock and fisheries as obtainable in many African countries. Nigerians should adopt strategies in responding to changes of climate change as it affects livestock production, not negative laws. Government should take an inventory of all existing grazing reserves, traditional grazing areas, transhumance corridors, major stock routes, and fully develop at least one grazing reserve in each senatorial zone in line with the recommendation of the Interministerial Committee on Livestock Development in Nigeria 2015, the report of Presidential Committee on Pastoralism and Insecurity 2014, and the Livestock Transformation Program. A review of the Land Use Act is long overdue to accommodate the interests of all land resource users, particularly pastoralists who are in need of land to do their business. Ranching as envisaged by many requires massive capital investment and is difficult to sustain, not economical, and is not smallholder centered. So government should lead in the way of creation of ranches, because a poor stakeholder cannot have the money to buy land to create ranches. We are calling on the proper funding of the National Commission for Nomadic Education and expansion of its mandates to educate pastoralists to imbibe modern ways of livestock production. The National Assembly should come to the rescue of the pastoralists by resuscitating and passing the Grazing Reserve Commission Bill and other livestock management bills that were initiated by previous National Assemblies and still lying fallow. In a similar vein, our organization totally condemned the continuous extortion of Fulani pastoralists and profiling of Fulanis by the governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom, and call on him to offer an unreserved apology to the Fulani race for the tissues of lies, propaganda, falsehood against the Fulani ethnic group, particularly our organization, the Miyetti Allah Kautal Hore. Our organization applauds the renewed efforts of security agencies in the massive onslaught against criminals, cattle rustlers, kidnappers, bandits, particularly the near decimation of Boko Haram terrorists in the northeast, arrest of the notorious Biafran terrorist Nnamdi Kanu, and the smoking of the murderous Yoruba bandit gangster Sunday Igboho that is languishing in Benenua prison. Our organization totally condemned the vituperations of one Emir of Muri in Taraba State for genocidal propaganda against the Fulani pastoralists and have since taken the necessary legal steps against the misguided local monarch and have written to the Taraba State governor to immediately dethrone the deranged monarch. Finally, we commend the courageous efforts of the federal government under the progressive leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari for listening to our consistent call to restore existing grazing reserves and routes, create new ones, as it is the only sustainable solution to the farmer-herder conflict in this country. We reject the laws in totality because they are satanic, evil, and antichrist. We also are going to take legal actions against the state to challenge them both in our local courts and international courts, because it's fundamentally against the constitution of the country. And then thirdly, we are going to also apply political solutions. That's why we're appealing to the National Assembly, the President, and also initiate series of dialogue, because we believe some of these governors are ill-informed about the real causes of security challenges they are having in their states. And fundamentally, the laws are not implementable, because by the time you don't create alternatives for the herders, where are they going to take their animals to? Are they going to park them in a shop or park them in government houses? And also, to further inform the journalists here, most of the cattle you see in southern Nigeria are owned by merchants, traders. Most of them are not even northerners. So they take those cattle there for market purposes. Before they slaughter them, they keep them for 2-3 weeks for them to recover from the stress of transportation. So that is why you see, even after creating the laws, you still see cattle all over southern Nigeria. So those laws are just a fluke. And I see them as a bogey. They are using the laws as a bogey to siphon security votes from their states. So they are virtually deceiving the masses of those states. Then on the issue of the bad eggs, yes, we have been partnering with security agencies. Some of you are aware that have been working with us. We are the lead organization in partnering with security agencies in terms of peace and security since 2014. We have been on this. And what we want to state clearly is not the responsibility of Miyetti Allah to secure the country for Nigerian security. They should know that the security is their responsibility to secure Nigeria. We are also victims of insecurity. We are the worst victims. So by the time you ask us to now be responsible for securing the country, you are not only dodging responsibility that is meant for the security service, you are also profiling our people. Particularly the one from Katsina State, my state, is confused because in front of their eyes, all the Fadama areas have been taken over. All the watering points that are meant to serve both herders and farmers have been converted into Fadama areas for cultivation. They are supposed to be the leading states in finding solutions to this crisis because these herders are culturally attuned to the people. They are mostly from there. They should create ranches to serve as example for other states to copy. They should provide amenities to these herders. So all these pretensions they are doing, they are running out from their responsibilities. They allow this crisis to accumulate and also affect other parts of the country. What you see happening in Zamfara, Katsina, Niger State is a consequence of abandoning the herders over the years, neglecting them. No education, no any development of the livestock sector. And you now want to force them into banditry. is a failure of governance. So how can they stop transportation of, are we the one transporting cattle? The business of the value chain of cow business involves everybody in the society, not just Fulani people. So can they, if they close down the whole market, probably it's for temporary security measures. Maybe they want to do some operations, as we know that is ongoing in Zamfara. But I know nobody will say I'm closing cattle markets over the country, because the people that the market sustain, you cannot imagine when you go down. How many are employed by government? So we support any security measure that will bring peace. But what we are saying is that we are the first line of victims of these bandits. The new Minister of Agriculture, I pray he will not join the bandwagon of those somersaulting from Ruga to ranching to Brazilian grass, tomorrow livestock transformation. What we need is simple. Designate grazing areas for us. Develop massive infrastructure that herders will have communal use there. It's not difficult to create dams and say this area is for herders. Then introduce the modernization gradually. You have where you do the breeding, you have people that develop the feed slots, but the governors are not investing in anything. So how do they expect to solve the problem? But when you go and check their expenditure profile, security vote, billions, I pray EFCC go after all of them.